All right, well, let's move on to our next panel here with a provocative title, The Future of Bungie and Destiny 2. And I'm honored to have three of the key folks from Bungie here with us to talk about all things Destiny 2. So please welcome to the stage Mark Noseworthy, the GM of Destiny 2, Luke Smith, the game director, and Raylene Deck, the design lead on Destiny 2. Hello, guys. Mark, Luke, good to see you. Let's welcome the independent Bungie. So guys, it's been a news-filled week for Bungie. All started sort of last Thursday with Google Stadia and the Vidoc and the live show. I was going to say, I feel like you guys should be hosting. You guys were great hosts of your live stream.
Well, since you asked.
Exactly. It's like Luke and Mark. I like it. No, it was a great show. And I don't know if you guys saw it. It was like a whole hour and a half where you guys broke down a lot of stuff. So, here I think is an opportunity to kind of give a little more context to sort of what you announced. I polled some people on Twitter, had some interesting questions for you guys about a bunch of things. But from a macro perspective, I want to kind of talk about Bungie as a company and kind of where you guys are at right now. I've covered Bungie pretty much since the beginning, and certainly through all the Halo years and the Destiny years. And this is an interesting time for you guys, doing that deal, leaving Microsoft, doing the deal with Activision, and now kind of going independent. Can you guys maybe talk philosophically about the decision to sort of take Destiny, or I mean, you always own the IP, but sort of like to not have self-publish, I guess, and that concept of sort of Bungie really sort of fully owning your destiny, for lack of a better term. Tell us about the evolution of that. I mean, how did you guys sort of ultimately come to that realization that would be what's best for Bungie?
So from the very beginning, like even all the way back to 2014, we've talked about how Destiny kind of has had an identity crisis. Yeah. Like we've talked a number of times over the years about the different iterations of Destiny. And as we've continued to move forward and think about what the game could be, we started to realize the opportunity that we had as developers was to get to a place where we could truly be in control of Destiny. And as we look at the landscape and the way that video games are changing and evolving and the business models are changing, this becomes an opportunity for Destiny, a franchise that we want to be around for a while, to continue to evolve too. And in this case, Bungie has sort of struck out on its own a few times. Like you pointed out, we left Microsoft and we ultimately separated from Activision. And a bunch of that is because we want to be the independent spirit that the company's always been. Right. And we want Destiny to adapt to the evolving marketplace, sort of riding the wave of that independence.
I think I thought some of that with certainly Destiny, where you're on sort of a cadence when you were working with Activision, which is like as a traditional publisher, cadence of when content comes and sequels and whatnot, and it's leaked, but I mean that contract you originally signed was sort of very specific about like you're going to drop this here, and it was sort of like formulated in a way you said where the business was signed at a time 10 years ago or whenever, when the business was a bit different. So as you were sort of going through Destiny, there were obviously, as you said, sort of those pain points or pressure points where you sort of felt like you were kind of. Is it fair to say you were making decisions kind of more for business reasons and creative reasons about how you wanted to evolve it?
I mean, if you just look at we slipped Destiny twice. Yeah. Like with the original game, we slipped, and then Destiny 2, we slipped, and we didn't do those for business reasons. Those were purely for creative reasons. It was, we're trying to get the time we need to make the best thing that we could. Yeah. I do think that one of the things that can happen sometimes, or did happen to us in the developer-publisher relationship, is we collaborated and chose directions, and sometimes the directions maybe weren't the right thing for what our core players were interested in. And I think we've spent a year plus, just completely taking care of that.
Yeah, we love the idea of being able to put our core player, our core Destiny player, at the center of all our decisions. Like we look at Destiny as a franchise, as a game that has a lot of people who love playing it. We love playing it, and part of this, second newfound independence is we get to chase that. We get to say, we're going to make Destiny for people who love Destiny, period, right? And that's just like really exciting and invigorating for us as a company and the team.
And I think even, for me, one of the most fascinating aspects of this is you have a player base, an existing game, and this transition is like, it's disruptive in a way, and it's sort of like, trying to figure out how do you change, the business model in many ways, right? Add a free-to-play component. How do you move, especially on the PC, to like an entirely new ecosystem and platform? Bring in Stadia. I mean, it's like there's a lot of shift there. So I'm sure, tell us a bit about philosophically how you approach that, because you said I think you knew these were things you wanted to get to eventually, like, hey, how do we take this free to play? But then how do we honor the players that have spent a lot of money in the game and bought it and respect that, but also entice new people to come in? So can you talk a bit about sort of how you approached, the knowledge that you need to make this shift, but how you got there from where you were? Because that's, it's something really, I think, difficult to navigate. And to your credit, I think you guys did a pretty good job last week, bringing the fans along to explain that. But give us a bit of context about, knowing that that's where you needed to go, but how you got there.
So probably like shortly after Destiny 2 came out, Mark and I and some other folks started thinking about how Destiny could evolve.
Right.
And one of the first ways we looked at it was not only the game design evolutions that we felt like could be an opportunity, but also just how's the game industry changing? After Destiny 2, that's where you had a bunch of things like Fortnite was ramping, and we see this trend happening, for kids today, basically, where they're just like, are they going to be paying for games in 10 years? And what we felt like we had with Destiny 2 was kind of a business model that was ripe for adaptation. But when we think about adapting it, we want to think about what's like the controlling idea behind the adaptation. And so the controlling idea was crush the barriers between friends, and that led us to New Light.
Yeah, tell us about New Light.
Yeah, because New Light isn't like a new mode, or it isn't an expansion, or it's a game now, which is really exciting, and where it's geared towards new players, but all players can experience it. Right. And so the idea is to break down those barriers, and some of the barriers are content related. So now with New Light, if you don't want to spend tens of hours of going through campaign content by yourself, and you're like, no, I'm just here I want to play with my friends, like I want to jump in, you can do that now. Some of the campaign content like Red War and Curse of Osiris and Warmind, so they're free now, but they're optional. So it's like, yeah, if you want to go play that, you can. And some of the other barriers are money, right? So before, I think you had to play Forsaken, you had to get that, and then
it was the compounding business model, right?
Yeah.
Where if you think of it like a pyramid, like, I bought the base layer, now the next thing came out, and now you layer on top of that, and you need to keep buying and buying and buying. And that's just
how do I play the game,
it's just gonna diminish your audience over time. And what we found with games like Destiny is the audience does tail off as the game gets older, and what we want are ways for people to constantly return. And we've witnessed this even with our annual pass this season, where there's really cool stuff right now in the game. Season of Opulence just came out a week ago, and it has this new 6-player match-made activity, the Menagerie, which is awesome. But if you want to play the Menagerie, you have to buy a bunch of stuff that maybe you didn't want. No, I don't want Black Armory, or I don't want Drifter. And so as we stare into these sorts of problems, we want to think of a different way of distributing content that could be kind of more player-friendly, but also more friendly toward inviting people to come play the game, rather than it's the example I've given you before, Geoff. Like, if Greenberg is going deep on Opulence and he's trying to lure you in to play the Menagerie, you're like, well, in the game today, you're like, I'm so far behind. Right. In the game coming out this fall, you're not that far back.
And it's about having just one community of players, right? We don't want to fragment people.
Right.
As we've sold expansions in the past, sometimes you buy an expansion, you end up leaving your friends behind. Well, I get to go to the new world, I can do the new thing, but you can't unless you purchase it, right? And it's really important for us to have one global community of players. And so whether you're coming in free with New Light, or you're buying Shadowkeep standalone, or you're one of our hardest core players who've played since day one, played since the alpha, you're all going to be playing together, right? And one of the great things about having people on board and join the game year round is it just makes Destiny richer for everyone, right? Like, it's great to have new people join PvP so you can beat up on them, and they can eventually become your friends. It's great to have more people in public spaces. Yeah. It's great to Sherpa someone through the raid and have that experience with them for the first time, where they've never played a game like Destiny with 5 other Guardians back to back shooting monsters. They kill that last boss and they get that drop and they're like, this game's awesome, And so these free players that often they're going to be your friends, you're just recommending it to them, but they might also just be total randos. They make Destiny better for everyone, for our existing fans. I said earlier how we're making decisions about really satisfying our core players. Well, by adding New Light and giving people a free entry point, that's better for our existing fans too.
Well, and I think fans, they want more people to experience the game and see why they love it and kind of enroll people. You said like in the past it's been difficult to sort of get people ready for that. One thing when I was looking at my feed this morning, a lot of people were asking about, and I don't know, this is more technical, but a lot of people were asking about, hey, you have cross save, which you've talked about kind of across everything. People were asking about some of the, the paid content. Like if I buy it on one platform, then am I able to play it on the other platform via cross save, or do I have to buy the content on each individual platform?
Yeah, so we're still working out the details on a couple precise things there because it's really complicated when you look at it. But
if I'm entitled to it on, if I buy it on PS4, then can I?
So with cross save, you're going to pick the account, the set of Guardians on one platform that you're going to promote. You're going to say these are the ones I put the most time into, I care the most about, and that's now like got like a star above it, and that's the one you can play on all the platforms.
Yep.
Because of New Light. Coming out on PlayStation and PC and Xbox. That means you can go to any of those 3 platforms and try out cross-save for free, right? Yep. And you can jump into PvP, play Crucible, run around all the worlds and destinations. You've got all your guns, all your characters and abilities from the beginning, and that's awesome. But if you want to play the story, of Shadowkeep on that new platform, you've got to buy Shadowkeep there, right? And so the core license, the core expansion, you will.
The Shadowkeep, I might have to buy if I want to play it on PS4 and PC. I have to buy it on both.
Yes, yeah, okay. That's the plan of record for sure going forward. There's more details about other edge cases and stuff. We're actually still trying to work this out.
Well, I said like it's
put an
what you're
FAQ
doing
together
is
for players because we see there's
the
lots of
business
questions
kind of has
about
to follow sometimes the vision of kind of how this is done because you said like I'm sure fans are freaking out. It's like wait, I have to buy it twice. Like that doesn't make sense.
But we do think that cross save and New Light go really well together for people, right? Because it allows you to like, well, I've got a PC. It's not that great, but maybe I can, because my brother's moved over there, but maybe I can check it out, and it doesn't cost you anything to go check that out now. Like, just go jump in, and what is it like to play, Destiny at 60 frames per second or higher on PC and PvP? You can just go try it out for free, right? Cross save and New Light do that together for existing players.
What do you?
I was just gonna add to the thing you're saying, because the New Light offering is pretty robust. Like if you're a raider on PC, so you buy Shadowkeep, you're gonna raid with your community on PC, but your brother or sister-in-law is playing on PS4, you can go play a bunch of stuff with them on PS4. Crucible, Gambit, Strike playlist. You can go to all the worlds with them. Like there's a bunch of stuff you can do. We've really tried to make sure that the New Light offering is so content heavy that a bunch of the engagement game you can go play kind of anywhere with your friends, or go to Moon and farm helium filaments or whatever.
Yeah, so new players start in their Cosmodrome, just like Destiny 1. So we're going back there, and within 15 minutes, like the mission's not very long. You get, dumped into the tower, the same tower that everybody else experiences, and all the activities are opened up for you. So you can play Strikes, you can play Crucible, you can check out some of the destinations, start unlocking those, and there's a lot of content. Like where at work, there's almost every day there's something new. We're like, oh yeah, we forgot about this piece of content, and like, how does that fit in? And it's crazy and really exciting to have all these new players come in and check out some of all the content that we built over the years. So, yeah.
Speaking of all the content over the years, I think a lot of people are wondering. You mentioned Destiny 1. It's now you're Destiny 2, but all that content that was made for D1, is there kind of a plan for some of that to like live more, be ported or move into Destiny 2 in any way? Like,
I don't think we have anything planned yet.
What you're seeing with the Moon is like the beginning of kind of like an experiment. We're looking at what happens when we create destinations, like even from Destiny 1, which is going to be new to a bunch of players who didn't play Destiny 1, like a bunch of our PC community. But then what happens to these locations? Like the game takes place in our solar system. So the Moon is still there. Like you'll see the Moon outside at night here, in LA. If the haze, goes away, you might not see it. In Seattle, you'll see it. But the Moon is this opportunity for us to say, hey, that's a world that people loved. What happened to this world over the last few years? What happened to Eris over the last few years? How's the context for these things changed? And what we want to do with Destiny is ultimately, think about what is the library of content that we have built over time. What are the ways these worlds can evolve and change? And the moon and it being twice as big as it was the last time is our first like kind of step into like, oh, what happens when we take this cool piece of content and our artists and designers go nuts and enhance it and tell an environmental story there about how it's evolved.
It's really exciting to like peel back the layers on a world, right? Like we want Destiny not to feel like just a game or a disc in your drive, but a real place that's evolving. And we started this journey of like what would it be to expand on a place you've been before way back in D1. When the Taken King first came out, I think it was the second mission. You go back to the Cosmodrome and you get to Sepix Prime's lair and he's dead on the ground, and there's a door that's open behind him and you walk over his dead corpse and you ascend this colony ship that you've seen in the distance for almost a year at this point. And you don't even remember, was there always a door behind Sepix? I don't really know. And you get to see the Cosmodrome from an entirely new perspective. It expands your view of what that world and that destination was like, and it makes Destiny feel like a real place, right? And we're taking that and really trying to push on that with the moon. You're going to go to places in the moon that you didn't know were there, right? And it's really fun to explore a place that's familiar, but actually evolved and really different.
I think so. Moon's my favorite destination, so I'm really excited to go back. And I think for new players too, it's brand new for them, right? So I think it's almost like the best of both worlds, right? So it's cool.
From a story content perspective, obviously we know Cherokee November or September, but what's the cadence going to look like in terms of story content moving forward, like in this new kind of business model? You've had the seasons and whatnot, but it's like, are you still imagining they're going to have these sort of big story drops, once a year, or is it going to be like, are you thinking about it differently now that it's going to be more sort of?
We're really only talking about the next year right now of our roadmap, but when we think of the story, we don't think of evolving and telling the story only once a year. Like the seasons are an amazing opportunity for us to tell really cool stories and go to new places. Like just this past season, the season of the Drifter, I think we've really tried to explore that character and the relationship with Emissary and what that all means. And so we see the seasons as a real opportunity to tell stories as well.
The thing I would add is, in Destiny's history, it has felt oftentimes like the kind of monster of the week, or each quarter's been a little bit different. With seasons, 8, 9, 10, 11, et cetera, the next year of content, we want the seasons to do a better job of handing off. Like we had the Dreaming City in Forsaken kind of launched this loop, and what we want to have this fall is something that happens in the Shadowkeep game experience that begins season 8, and something that concludes season 8 kind of serves as a launch pad to season 9 and so on, where you do feel this momentum through the game as you play it over the course of the year.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of learnings from the Dreaming City, and then from Forsaken, a lot of the content is we'll be able to use the learnings from that and for New Light, because there's a lot of like systemic.
Yeah,
I did it. Yeah, systemic content that will be free for new players as well. So it's really cool. Yeah.
You guys have been pretty bold about your vision of letting people play Destiny kind of anywhere with anyone you want, that kind of idea. So you've got a lot of platforms going, shifting to Steam on the PC, which is like that's a big move, right? Sort of pull people off battle on Steam. I don't know, you may have answered this, I may have missed it, but do I have to rebuy it on Steam if I bought it, or you'll get entitled to it?
Yeah. So we can tell what people what they've bought in the past and what they've earned in the game. What progressions they've gotten. And so we're preserving everything about your player account and any of your licenses. They're all going to transfer over to Steam, free of charge. You're just going to have to download it again. Right. We've got some detailed migration plan that's going to be communicated on our website sometime soon about how that's going to work and what steps you have to take. And but we want to make it really seamless and a good experience for players. And we want people to be playing on September 16th on Battle.net and on September 17th play on Steam and not miss a beat.
Yeah, you'll be able to keep your items and
all their progression.
And I don't know how much you can talk about this, but I'm curious about the idea of going with Steam, which is only a block or two from you guys there in Bellevue. But obviously on the PC side, like Epic has been making a lot of inroads there, doing lots of deals. Battle.net is still a platform out there. Can you talk about like Valve, which love those guys. I've known them since the beginning. They haven't been sort of super aggressive in going out and doing a lot of, these deals. Can you maybe talk about philosophically, like why that felt like the right place to put Destiny?
Well, they are just right down the street, of course.
Yeah.
But
It's pretty helpful.
Valve Steam is a huge platform, right? With the largest number of users around the world, and so we're looking at what's going to be a good experience for our players, what's going to have the highest overlap. People have already created an account, certainly. But we're not tied to Steam exclusively.
Right.
This is about where we're moving this year, and we do want Destiny to be a game where you can play anytime, anywhere with your friends and be able to find it in multiple places. So it's totally conceivable that someday we'd be on the Epic Games Store or on other launchers, in different regions. But it made sense for us to do that this year with Steam.
Mobile, I imagine, is something that I guess through Stadia, it's sort of like on mobile to some degree this year. But can you talk a bit about especially now with iOS having controller support and things like that, how does mobile kind of factor into your thinking over the next short term?
For the Destiny 2 game engine, we haven't actually looked too closely right now at trying to get that product running on a mobile platform.
Yeah.
We're so busy trying to get things like Stadia stood up, get the Steam transfer set. We want to keep making the game awesome for our core fans, and mobile Destiny represents future potential, far off ideas. It's obviously, I think it's probably far and away the #1 gaming platform in the universe.
Yep.
And so it represents.
It could be a different experience in the world, right? And that's one thing now I see a lot of people have the same game, and this is just me, but I'm probably not going to be playing Fortnite on my phone, but it's cool the engine's there. But is there another experience in the world that can sort of work for mobile that ties into the universe?
Do you got a resume?
But yeah,
Thank
in case it wasn't clear, with Stadia and with other cloud platforms like xCloud and stuff like that, you're going to be able to play amazing AAA games on your phone, right? And so
with a controller,
with a controller, right? Which is awesome. And the idea that it's happened to us at the office, but it happens to many people. We hear the story where I went traveling somewhere, and I brought my PlayStation 4 with me because I needed to get something done in the game by a certain date, or I was afraid Zerv was going to sell something, or somebody got their brother to break into their apartment so they could buy something on their Xbox. It's insane, right? And it's cool. We love those stories, but those stories are going to go away, right? Because you can you can just fire up your phone and log in your character and keep playing Destiny, right? It'll be on a smaller screen, but it's not going to be. You're not playing in HD, 144 hertz or whatever, but you're still having a great experience, anytime, anywhere, right? And so that's going to be really transformative for gamers. We're really excited about that story.
I really wish that shit was here now, so that I could have got my Raid jacket this week instead. Had a day and a half. That's it. No Crown of Sorrows jacket for me.
In time. And also, with next gen, Xbox has talked about holiday 2020 for the next Xbox. Somebody's out there talking about PlayStation Stadia. Obviously, will kind of continue to evolve. Let's talk about Bungie kind of moving into the next generation now, because this is going to be interesting. You have Destiny. This game, obviously, you're going to keep building it over the next couple of years. You're not going to have, Destiny next gen, or maybe you will. But it's. Can you talk a bit about kind of how that's going to factor into sort of just the roadmap? Because games are still, evolving every year, right? Technology is getting better and whatnot, and now you have this ongoing live service games. Can you talk about your philosophy a little bit on sort of how will you continue to upgrade the engine and add new features, and what we can sort of look like there?
We're upgrading the engine technology every year. This is part of being a live game service. And the good news is because we have really high-end PC support. The game looks, you play on PC with a crazy monitor and all that kind of stuff. And so we support a variety of platform fidelities for Destiny already. So when we think about next gen, we're really excited about moving to that platform someday.
Yeah.
We believe the technology and the infrastructure we're building already supports ramping up things like way higher resolutions and higher frame rates and better lighting and all this kind of stuff. And so we think we're going to be positioned pretty well for that transition.
But
Yeah,
we're
and-
just learning about these things too, right? Like you're like,
So
new
you
consoles
say.
coming. Like, cool, we should start having some plans around that.
120 frames per second.
Yeah.
Well, crazy.
This year is crazy enough, I think, right?
Yeah, well, that's not coming this year.
Yeah, no.
It's funny, we always have these NDAs, and so we know things, and you're like, but what's public and not public? And if you're not tracking like what's happening in the media, you don't really know, and you're like, just
Just
don't
say
say
nothing.
anything. Just say nothing. You'll never get in trouble.
But you did say higher frame rates, which is, exciting.
That's just
That's it.
what I read.
120 frames?
I read that
Whoa.
on some website. I don't know.
Yeah, but no, it's an interesting time, I think, as you said, for a company like Bungie that's always been, at the forefront of a lot of these console launches and whatnot, and now to be able to sort of have this ongoing platform that's going to evolve in this world. How big is the studio now in terms of like developers?
We're about 600 people.
Yeah.
600.
You know,
And is it pretty much like all 600 are devoted to Destiny?
we're primarily working on Destiny, right? Almost the entire studio. We've got a few people in the backyard, planting some seeds that might grow into some future things. But we've got a big forest called Destiny that we're working on, and it's still growing. But yeah, we're predominantly focused on Destiny. That's the lifeblood of the company, and
Right.
many of us joined the company to work on Destiny. That's why I joined almost 10 years ago, but it was the last year of Halo Reach. But I came to work on Bungie's next big action game, right? And so yeah,
Which is interesting because you're at that point where it's like, the 10-year journey, and it's like you're a creative studio, and like, one of the great things about this is you can keep growing and building within this world, but I'm sure there is the, restlessness of like, oh, there is other things that we want to do as well, and it's like, just doing another 10 years of Destiny. It might be cool because what Destiny is can change, right? And same thing with like Fortnite, what it's going to become probably 3 years from now, it's probably not going to be just a battle royale game. There's going to be all these new modes and different things in there. So you can be creative within the Destiny world.
Yeah, Luke and I have been working on Destiny together. We've been partnered for about 5 years, and and ourselves, the team, we've got all sorts of ideas with Destiny that we haven't talked about yet, that we haven't revealed, that aren't in the game yet, that we want to see in the game, right?
And that's just like different types of gameplay and different sort of experiences?
Yeah, like
A bunch of features that we definitely don't want to talk about, but if they were, they'd be really cool and exciting, and people then would go, why the F haven't you put that in the game yet? Like,
but we really feel like our work with Destiny 2 is not done. Like there's so much more we can add to this,
I think
this
in
series,
you can prototype. I mean, there can be different games or different game experiences.
Yeah, like
even
even-
Sparrow Racing, like people are like, oh, it's like,
Sparrow
what is that
Racing,
thing?
like Gambit, there's all kinds of ideas. The team comes up with all kinds of awesome
6-player
stuff.
match-made activity this past week in Destiny, right? Like where else in video games can you play a shooter with 5 other players back to back against hordes of monsters? It's Mario Party meets Destiny, right? Like that's freaking awesome, right? Like what's the
Destiny
next
Party
thing?
coming soon.
Yeah, it's good, man. Like there's tons of room for innovation in this series for us. So like we're still really pumped about
And I
it.
think, now that you're in a free-to-play world, I think there's that many more ways to onboard people to the experience, right? And
Yeah.
have different experiences that can be different types of gameplay within that world.
Yeah, well, with one Destiny, one entry point,
Yeah.
right? There's so much time to be able to evolve the game, right? Through seasons and through whatever else we're doing next, right? Like I think that it's just going to keep changing. The industry changes so fast. Like we have to change fast as well. So like it's exciting. Yeah.
Sure. No, I have to say, I mean, leading into last week when I knew some of the stuff you guys were announcing, I'm like, like how is this going to roll out? Because there was like a lot of things happening last Thursday. But I got to say, to your credit, I think you guys were very kind of, focused on message, and the fans, I think, are still with these guys, right? No tomatoes to the stage. All right. Well, thanks so much, guys. Good luck in the next few years here with Destiny. We look forward to seeing everything in September and beyond. Team from Bungie. Thanks very much, guys. Appreciate it.